Hello and welcome to Future Simple Friday Live, episode 18. I'm joined today by Rachel from Alicas, which is an amazing social venture, I'm going to call it, because I'm not entirely sure on
That's true.
the
Social
various
venture.
things, various types of social thing there are now. And also me, of course, from Future Simple. So we are going to start today just by asking a little bit about Alicas, how you got started, get to know you a bit better, and then we'll move on to our darker questions as we do. So, tell us about Alicas. What is Alicas and what do you do?
Sure. So Alicas, like you mentioned, is a social venture. Alicas stands for Ali's Coats and Shoes. And basically, when I was in my late teens in my native Highlands, I worked with this amazing woman called Ali who had fled an abusive relationship with her 3 kids and nothing but the clothes that they were wearing. And despite having very challenging circumstances, she maintained that having a good coat and a pair of shoes really helped her to rebuild her life, because it meant that she could go for job interviews and feel confident and take her children to school and feel like she belonged in the playground. And then several years after that, I found myself fleeing an abusive relationship and was supported by my local women's aid group. And it was from there that I saw just how many women were relying on very well-meaning but often poor quality, ill-fitting clothing donations, often unwashed, often unpleasant smelling, handed over to them in bin bags, because these women aid refugees do an amazing job. Often they just don't have the resource capacity to be able to deal with the quantity and the quality of donations that they get, and so sometimes women would be left to kind of go through bin bags and find something that they could salvage to get themselves back on their feet. And that just really upset me, and basically with Ali's words all those years earlier still ringing in my ear, and thinking about my own situation and now what I could see other women were going through, I initially set out just to research if there was an existing project that could help my women's aid group, and found that there wasn't really anything specifically helping people in clothing crisis by giving them new clothing and really quality gifts. And then I also discovered that we landfill and incinerate almost half of new clothing in the UK each year, and it costs tens of billions, in excess of £60 billion for UK retailers to dispose of their surplus stock.
So they just burn it. So they can't sell it. So when you have all these sales and they're trying to sell things for 50p and they can't sell it.
Yeah.
They burn it.
Yes.
Or they landfill it.
So the typical life cycle of a garment is that it will go through 1 or 2 rounds of promotion. If it doesn't sell in that time, it's put into something called terminal storage, where it could be put into a warehouse for up to 2 years. And then when they need to clear space in the warehouse, they'll clear out that stock. Some of it ends up in the grey market, which might be third party kind of resellers. Some of it finds itself to being recycled or put to good use. Some of it's given to charity, but the vast majority of it is destroyed, whether that's through landfill shredding or incineration. And it's stock that is perfectly good, still new, unused, tags on often, and so that kind of huge disconnect of that we were producing in such enormous quantities, yet we had thousands and thousands of people in this country who are without the necessary clothing for day-to-day life. I kind of set about trying to bridge that gap, and so Alicas, like I said, is a social venture that gifts capsule clothing parcels to women in clothing crisis, using the surplus retail stock and using the products of fast fashion that basically people buy and never wear, just sit in the back of their wardrobe, often making them feel guilty when they go into their wardrobe and seeing the things that they've purchased and that aren't quite right. So we've created this as basically an avenue for retailers to have a socially and environmentally responsible alternative to landfill, and also for members of the public who want to pay it forward, who want to support women who are in clothing crisis by giving us their garments that they haven't worn, and that's what we do.
Wow. And so when did Alicas start?
So I first had the idea for Alicas literally just 2 years ago, so February of 2017, and it took quite a long while for me to be able to get in a position where I could work on it with any kind of regularity. So my background is in marketing, and so I did a lot of freelance work to help tide me over and free up my time to be able to work on Alicas for free. Applied for lots of different funds, and then eventually in the summer of 2018 was fortunate to be successful with the Unlocking Ambition fund that's run by the government, the Scottish Government. I'm part of the Royal Society of Edinburgh strand of that fellowship, and so that has enabled me to work on Alicas full time for a year and get it to a point where we're actually delivering parcels to women who need them.
Brilliant. And so how many parcels have you delivered so far?
So we've just delivered our 30th parcel.
Wow.
Each parcel has up to 30 items of clothing and accessories, and they're all tailored to the size, style and religious or cultural needs of each recipient. We've had wonderful feedback from the agencies that we work with and from some of the recipients of our parcels, and we've diverted about 1,000 garments from waste at this point. We've just started working with a couple of retailers and designers in earnest to help us with our supply chain, but it's something that we constantly need support with, so members of the public are really valuable in that too, and making connections with retailers who can support us in our work. So it's ongoing. We've got an enormous target of 300 parcels, so we're well on our way through our pilot to being able to achieve that. So yeah, just need to keep on going.
Yeah, amazing. And so 300 parcels, is that in a year, or is that just what you need to show that you can?
So that was our initial target, and to be honest with you, I think we kind of came up with 300 parcels because we thought, what was a really big goal, and we kind of felt like we needed to go big or go home, essentially. We knew that this was a really big issue, and so we wanted to be able to do our pilot justice. With hindsight, I think 300 parcels is quite enormous for a pilot project, because that is 10,000 items of clothing.
That's like 30 items of clothing per box.
It's a lot.
That is a lot. If it was an outfit, maybe. But a proper wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it's been hard to kind of balance we have very little kind of control or knowledge over what stock's going to come in and when it's going to come in.
So how long does it take you to get a package of clothes that is actually right for a person?
So it's funny, because that was one of the logistical challenges we really thought a lot about in the beginning, was how were we ever going to be able to have enough quantity of clothing to be able to, fully accommodate the wide variety of size, shape, style of women that would be referred to us. A couple of things have helped in that regard. One is just sheer luck. I don't know how. I wake up in the morning and just thank my lucky stars and just really hope that whatever referral we come in, and we're going to have clothing that is really suited to that woman. And so far, that generally has happened. We're grateful to have had a really broad range of donations, and so that has really helped us to be able to accommodate the variety of our referrals. And then the other aspect is part of our funding and part of the sustainable merchandise that we retail. The proceeds that we take from that helps us to be able to buy specific items for a woman who maybe has a more specific requirement. For instance, if she's breastfeeding, if she has religious or cultural considerations we need to accommodate for, if there's particular garments that we need to buy that are different, or if we need to just buy more garments that are better suited to her, that enables us to do that. But largely we're able to rely solely on our donations.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you find there's certain things that come in more than others? Do you get types of clothing that are more likely to be donated? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's really funny, because it seems to go through phases. So we went through a phase where we got loads and loads of size 14, 16 trousers, which is great. And then we've gone through phases where we've got loads and loads of dresses, or sometimes a designer will send us like loads of a certain garment that was their kind of last season stock or surplus stock. So we'll have lots and lots of a type of jumper, or lots of a type of top, which is generally good, especially for kind of wardrobe staples and things that are quite transferable, so it works for a lot of different women. But it really varies, and that kind of, I think the variety is something that's so beautiful, because we very passionately feel about celebrating the individuality of each woman, and that's precisely why our referrals process is so tailored, and why we really take the time to get to know the women that we're supporting. And so the variety of stock that we have really helps with that.
Wow. And have there been any, I suppose, highlights? There must be loads of highlights. I mean, I imagine there's lots of challenges as well, but having such a social driven and such an impact on women's lives.
Yeah, definitely. I think for us, like, it's very much the human side of what we're doing. That's, the social impact of our work is our sole focus, really. And everything that we do beyond that is solely to help us to fulfill this social need. I think one of our biggest milestones was sending our first parcel, and it was something that I'd really wanted to do for a very long time, but trying to get the logistics in place to be able to do that was really hard. moving into our premises and actually having a dedicated space, which is now like essentially our studio is just like a really big closet and it's just a big celebration of all these different types of clothing and how gratefully they've been received and how lovingly they've been donated and how they're going to get parceled up in a really beautiful parcel with tissue and a handwritten note and then sent to a woman who's going to benefit from them. And then every time we get kind of feedback from a woman as well who's received one of our parcels, it's just lovely. And we've had women thanking us for the smile that we've given them, and some of our donors as well have thanked us for giving them an outlet or an opportunity to be able to pay it forward. They might have experienced this situation in their lives themselves, and so being able to channel that experience into something positive and support women in this way. We get a lot of feedback from members of the public as well. That's been a really positive experience from them. So it's all around just a positive circle, I guess. But yeah, lots of challenges too to be able to manage that. So yeah.
And what about touching on the challenges? Is there anything that you kind of, I suppose just doing business in general is a bit of a challenge at times, but is there anything that you've kind of gone, that was a challenge, but I think we kind of got somewhere from that challenge?
Yeah, I think finding space, first of all, was really hard because we're not a normal business entity. A lot of commercial properties have really long leases and lots of stipulations, and it just wasn't something that we could meet. So trying to find the right kind of flexibility of space and something that's really tailored for our operation was challenging, but it's something that we achieved, and the space we're in now is brilliant, and it's really given us this kind of launch pad to be able to take all of our donations centrally and then distribute all of our parcels from there. So that's been really helpful. Getting retail partners and design partners can be challenging because these conversations can take a long time, and sometimes it's just about finding the right person who engages with what we're trying to do and wants to be able to help us.
And what are you looking for in terms of retail partners?
So basically any clothing retailer that retails women's clothing and has excess in their stock, whether that's a slow moving line or stock that hasn't sold in a particular season, and they're looking for a positive a socially and environmentally responsible way to repurpose that stock. And so, like I say, we've worked with about 4 different retailers at this point, and a couple of them very ongoing, and they're very supportive of our work, and we're so grateful for that. But that's the kind of, these relationships are what we need, and an even greater capacity to be able to have sufficient supply chain to manage the social demand for our service. The demand is so huge. We have a big wait list of referral agencies, and we want to be able to help all of them. These are referral agencies across the UK and into Europe, so we really want to be able to service that need. But to do that, we need designers and distributors, manufacturers, retailers to really work with us and help build our supply chain.
Wow. Yeah.
It's no mean
I'm
feat.
racking my brain now. I'm like, who do I know anyone? Do I? Don't know. I'll have a think. Wow. Yeah. And so when a retailer comes on board, is there anything that what kind of, do they get any highlights out of it? Have they mentioned anything?
So some of them, it's an interesting one because some other third sector organisations we've spoken to who work with retailers, I think there's typically been kind of a feeling of fear around, will this damage our brand if we're giving stuff away for free? How does this reflect on us if we're admitting that we have a waste stock problem? So there's been a lot of kind of trepidation, I think, historically in that arena.
I did see an article recently actually about luxury brands in particular going, we must burn it. Because otherwise we're going to totally devalue our brand.
Yeah. So there is a huge amount of concern about brand devaluation, and as a luxury marketer, I can completely understand where that comes from. However, the brands that we are in talks with and the brands that we've worked with, which include luxury brands, actually have taken the approach of saying that, we know and the public knows that surplus stock is an issue in fashion retail and in accessories retail, and so we're choosing to step away from the status quo of just destroying this in a negative respect, and we're really going to celebrate doing something positive with that stock. And what we found is that public really engage with that message, and they're happier to see the stock go to a positive purpose as opposed to just being destroyed. And in that regard, there's been just increasing political and consumer pressure on retailers to do something more responsible. So we've seen with the Burberry story last year about their incineration and what the public outcry was on the back of that. Stacey Dooley's documentary Fashion's Dirty Secrets, and even Blue Planet with David Attenborough's really highlighted the impact that fashion manufacturing has on our planet and on local communities around the world, and how we need to be more responsible. And then in terms of legislation, France was the first country to outlaw the needless destruction of clothing, and similarly we've seen the UK parliamentary investigation into the 10 biggest retailers in the UK and what they're doing with their surplus stock. So there is this increasing, I feel like the walls are kind of closing in some regard on fashion retailers to do something more positive with their surplus, and that's very much where we see ourselves fitting.
Interesting. I'm still racking my brains, people. So while I'm racking my brains, let's move on to the questions.
Cool.
So these questions are usually relating to marketing, entrepreneurship and mental health.
Okay.
Big things for us at Future Simple, making sure that we're taking care of ourselves, as well as our companies, the values that we're working towards, and also just trying to find snippets that might be useful for other people as well. So like coping strategies, whether it's a business coping strategy, whether it's literally a goal setting strategy, something like that, or something that we can do to help each other, help ourselves. So we just use these as discussion points essentially. Cool. There you go. I'll let you pick first.
Okay, great.
And then just read it out.
So just from the top? Cool. Okay, so the first one is example of a marketing campaign that inspired you, really got your attention. I know exactly the answer to this. So like I mentioned, my background is in luxury marketing, and I used to work for a high-end jewellers, and it was a big anniversary celebration of that jewellers, and we really wanted to celebrate it with an enormous campaign and really celebrate what kind of created the fabric of that company, which was the people. As it is, I find with just about any organisation, it's the human element that really engages people. Should always be. And so we did all sorts of different things on that campaign, but what really inspired the thought process behind it was it was actually a Gucci Spring-Summer 2016 campaign, I think it was Spring-Summer 2016, and it was set to a song called Goodbye Horses by Lazarus, and it was a TV ad campaign. It was very 70s, kind of inspired, running through a shopping mall and then partying on the roof, and it just felt extremely carefree and celebratory of the people in that environment, and so we kind of took the thought process behind that and then used that as kind of mood board inspiration and stuff into the campaign that created that and various other things, but that was a big part of it was that feel. It created a very big sense of
that emotional factor.
Definitely.
That's something that you always kind of want to strive for, is that it actually reaches a chord. It touches a chord when someone sees it or reads it, and if you can get someone to take away an emotion, it's much stronger than taking away a line or a message or a word or something.
Exactly. And it was the feeling, certainly, with that campaign that really struck a chord. So definitely that campaign.
Nice. Cool. Like it. Okay. Jargon term or abbreviation you struggle to avoid. So we always try and say that we are jargon free, or at least we try and avoid it. But it's almost impossible to do. And buzzword bingo.
Especially if you're in an agency.
Yes. Wherever, if you work in any kind of environment, where there's like a team of people, or there's a group of people, or any kind of organisation, it starts to develop its own language.
I know.
It just totally starts to develop its own language, and it's really funny. I think I had one the other day that I'd sent out, and I'd met, I think it was literally the Institute of Directors, to use it as a meeting space every now and then. It's really good. And I've now had so many meetings with people, I'm just referring it to the IOD. Meet you at the IOD. Sure. And so I put it in, I was like, meet you at the IOD, blah, 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 blah. And she went, time sounds great. What the hell is IOD? And you're like, okay, done it again. Acronym for, and I usually hate acronyms. It's only when you really understand what they mean. They can trip you up so much.
Definitely. I once wrote a blog post just for my own amusement of how much I hated buzzwords and jargon and how upsetting I found them in my day-to-day life. Low-hanging fruit being a specific one that I find really upsetting, and shovel-ready projects, put a pin in it, just kind of things that are just
random phrases that we say and we're like
unnecessary. Out of office, I am guilty of that one. Can't quite manage to type the 3 full words, so we'll go for or WFH, working from home, or, it's bad times. It's really easy to let them just slip in there. But
someone was telling me there's actually quite a cool tool now that you can set your own shortcuts, so if you do type OOO, it automatically turns it into out of office.
That's great. See, that's what I need.
Or all of that kind of thing, so it does. To find out what that is,
definitely that would be really helpful.
So you can kind of set, or if you want to put your signature on, you can just put LB and it'll write your full name or something like that, so you don't have to do it. Automatically translate your acronyms.
Definitely, that's really cool. I could do with one of those.
Okay, go.
Challenge currently working to overcome.
It could be a business one, or it could be a personal one, or I know it is hard, isn't it? When you think
it's hard. I think on a personal basis, I think as an entrepreneur or someone in business in general, it can be very easy to work constantly and not make enough space to take time out and kind of reflect on things, put yourself in kind of burnout danger zone. And so I think that's still, preventing burnout, I think I will be on constant burnout prevention for just about my entire career, because it is my natural tendency is to just work to burn out, especially as an entrepreneur, as a solo entrepreneur. You really can't afford for that to happen, because your business is completely reliant on you.
It relies on you, and you keep thinking, I need to work, and then if you work yourself into burnout, you've caused your own business destruction in a way.
100%. And so the responsible thing to do is to take time out and try
so much easier said than done.
So much easier said than done. And being able to switch off your brain. I read so many articles and listen to so many podcasts, and there was something about how a lot of people, even when they think they're relaxing, their brain doesn't actually kick into their parasympathetic nervous system, which means that you might think you're doing nothing, i.e. sitting and reading a book or taking a bath, but actually unless your brain can get out of that, into the parasympathetic nervous system and just take a breather, then your body's not getting the proper recovery that it needs. And then I thought, oh my god, even when I am thinking I'm relaxing, maybe I'm not even relaxing. Do I need some kind of parasympathetic nervous system detector? But yeah, I know, but it's really hard to manage that, and I think I'll constantly
I was speaking to Alison Wood from Lily Patterns was on a couple of weeks ago, and she said that one of her goals was to try and get her working hours down to 60 hours a week. And I just went, oh my god, down to 60 hours a week. She was like, I thought that was really good for an entrepreneur. I'm like, probably. But do
you think there's an expectation on entrepreneurs that we should be working in excess of 60 hours a week?
I think there's there's an always on expectation, I think,
definitely,
as an entrepreneur, or even as a business owner. I mean, I know business owner, entrepreneur are the same thing, but for some reason in my head, entrepreneur seems more either that early stage or super duper successful. In between, you're just a business owner. I don't know why that is, but that's kind of my expectation. That's where it lies. So when you should be there to answer an email at a certain o'clock at night, and you should be there to do this, this, that, and the other. And sometimes I only manage it by having to go, right, I need to spend family time. But then I realised that actually, yesterday, for example, I was working at a conference for a client all day, then I ran across town to go to a meeting for another client, then I literally had 10 minutes to get to nursery to pick Harry up, take Harry home. He was knackered, try and keep him awake in time for him to get to bed. He got to bed, I made my tea, then I went back to work. And then my other half came home, we had half an hour, he had to work late as well, so we had about half an hour conversation before I needed to go to bed, which was 11:30. And then I was still thinking about work until about 2 o'clock in the morning.
And that's what I mean about even being able to switch off when it's time to switch off is just so difficult. I think there's a responsibility on entrepreneurs that I remember when I was freelancing, so I was working at Alicas a little, and I was largely marketing freelancing. I started working with some other entrepreneurs, and we just co-work. We'd go to a coffee shop and just work together. But the norm had become in that group to just work Saturday, Sunday too. So you'd work 5 full days and then meet for coffee and then work some more on a Saturday or Sunday. And I remember that got me into a really bad habit of just working 7 days a week and it getting to 9 o'clock at night and still not feeling like I could turn off my laptop and stop.
Yeah.
So I think that the more like better habits we embody, and we kind of encourage each other to just be like, it's okay to take some time out, it's okay to stop work at
I think
a normal hour.
It does almost take you recommending it to someone else to then realise that you should probably do a little bit of it yourself.
Exactly, it's so necessary.
Because I think last week I had a cold for over a week or something. It's still lingering, but you know when you're feeling really crap and it gets to the point where you're like, I'm not doing the right level of work now, because
exactly,
this is just like nothing is functioning. I need to actually like sleep. But you feel so guilty.
The guilt is so extreme.
It's so guilty.
I worked about a 9-hour day on a Saturday and decided to take the Monday off because I was so exhausted, and I sat on Monday and I was like twitching because I was like, I can't not work. Exactly. I was like, I can't, like, it's a Monday, there's like kids in school across the road from me, like they're working, like I should be working. The guilt is real. It's hard.
So hard.
Definitely.
So hard. One day. Okay, was that my turn? Your turn? My turn.
Your turn, I think.
Okay, most interesting fact.
Most interesting fact in general.
Yeah, just in general.
I think so. The stats I tend to hit people with are that 33.3% of women will experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and that was a stat that really kind of bowled me over and empowered me to really take a stand and try and do something different in this space. Wow. So yeah, it's enormous. It's an enormous issue that I think is so easy to just not think about existing, and that means that a third of business people's workforce will, a third of their workforce will experience that, and it's just trying to reflect that in the work that we do. And so sometimes when I'm really struggling to stay motivated, especially in the early days, I used to try, and I'm a big believer in visualization, I would try and visualize that kind of billion women standing behind me and being like, okay, this is an enormous...
That's like a boost but a pressure at the same time.
A boost and a pressure, totally. Yeah, definitely.
I can see how that could maybe encourage you, but I can see how that could also be a huge burden to put on yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it is a big burden, but it's, a sad reality that's the world that we live in. That and the fact that, yes, almost half of new clothing in the UK is destroyed each year, which people also find really hard to grapple with. And just the sheer volume of that waste and how really irresponsible it is to be creating in these vast quantities in communities where we're polluting water from dyes used in fabric production, and exploiting workers in workplaces that are not fit for purpose and not safe, purely for garments to come to the UK and then be destroyed. So it's a fairly alarming state of affairs.
The cycle just makes you mad, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's very infuriating, which is why we need lots of change in conscious consumption and responsible production and responsible waste management as well.
Just need to change the world. It'll be fine.
I know, just one step at a time.
Yeah.
All right, pick and record. Okay. Key learning.
So this could be a key learning that you've learned this week, or one that you keep coming back to and things like that.
I learned so many things that I think are really key. It's keeping them in my head that's the hard part. I learned something really interesting today. I was at a risk workshop here at the Royal Bank of Scotland Accelerator, and there's a really interesting graphic about the 3 things that motivate us and the 3 things that motivate our workforces. Those things being wellness, reward, and development, and that at any time in our lives those things will shift for us differently. So at certain points of our life we might really value having development opportunities maybe early in our career when we need to be able to build up our skill set and build our experience, and then as we get older, reward might become more important when we have families and we want to buy homes, and then maybe later in our career, wellness and work-life balance and the time that we have off might come more into focus. And so that really made me reflect not only on building a team and what's important to people in your team, but also that when you go through times of stress as a business and you are really pushing towards a deadline or really pushing to deliver a project and everyone's working all hours and everyone's really going gung-ho on this thing, that you need to have time to just decompress and time to be able to reset and also to reflect and prioritize all of those things that are important to the personal and professional lives of your team, but also you as an entrepreneur, and being able to prioritize them in the building of your business and the running of your business, and really reflect, our lives change and what we want from life changes, and as we build businesses, they have to really be able to accommodate that for us to be able to sustain our passion for them and sustain the work that we're putting into them. And so I thought that was a really interesting concept. I think it's easy to overlook the things that are important to us and important to the people around us. And make
sure that balance is there for us as well as everybody else.
Definitely.
Yeah. Because it is, I read something one day that you should try and give yourself 5 minutes between moving from one type of situation to another type of situation. So whether that is moving from a meeting to another meeting to, or in my case, a client to another client, or even just from work to home. Just give yourself 5 minutes of you. To just put a song on, put something on to just move between them so that you can be the right thing.
Reset your brain.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because I'm totally guilty of it, especially with Harry and just...
I was going to say, especially as a mum and a business owner, and it's
taking
a lot of
between the two. Between you're literally going, right, what do I need to do, what do I need to make sure I'm doing tomorrow, what's on the to-do list for later on, blah 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 blah, and then it's okay, how many accidents did you have today, what washing do I need to do, what words did he learn, did he sleep, did he not sleep? Totally different, but all challenging in their own ways. Definitely. It's a good one. Okay. Anything you're looking forward to next week?
It's a good question.
I am now thinking I don't know what I'm doing next week.
I was going to say I'm really bad I look at my schedule the day before, generally, unless I'm traveling.
Booking something into the diary.
Yeah. Otherwise, I really don't know what I'm doing next week. And to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head what I'm
work out what dates goes next week. Right. I think I'm doing I'm doing some focus groups for a client on Monday, so that'll be interesting. That's as far as I've got.
Yeah, I'm going up north to see my family. I know that much. I will be travelling at some point next week. So
for the weekend, my mum and dad are taking Harry, so we're going to have a child-free weekend.
Oh, lovely. How are you going to spend it?
First time in a year. Well, I mentioned this earlier, whether to go to the wedding fair.
Yes.
I'm trying to work out whether to add more stress and management onto everything, or whether to just pretend that because I totally forgot it was Valentine's Day this year.
Yeah.
Absolutely passed me by. My other half came out in the morning, was like, "Happy Valentine's Day, dear," and I was like, "Oh my god, it's what? What is today? No? How have I completely just wiped this from everything that I'm dealing with?" Totally passed me by. So
make up for it by wedding planning.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. If I can get my head into that. But then I just think, oh my god, do I really need more things to deal with? Yeah,
planning a wedding and running a business and being a mother, all very time consuming.
And it all just makes me right, I'm just gonna have a nap now.
I know.
I'm just gonna lie down here. Every time. Yes. Go on then, we'll have one more.
Cool. And then, one more. Let's do it. Example of something you've kept simple this week. I tried really hard last year, towards the end of last year, after a very, very, very busy, hectic, all-consuming year, tried really hard to put measures in place to only have a certain amount of meetings, to book in time to have lunch, to book in time to have breakfast, and be able to do yoga in the mornings. And so generally, this week has been a good week. It's not been too all-consuming. I also try that my daily to-do list to not have too many things that I'm trying to achieve, because I find that things always take longer than I think they're going to take, and B, that my brain just cannot cope with trying to like achieve 5-6 different things in a day. So generally I would say this week my schedule has been much more simple than it was last year. So time for yoga, time for lunch, time to stop at the end of the day.
It's funny the things that we have to do, isn't it?
I know.
To make ourselves do things that should really be quite natural.
Yeah, schedule stop working.
And you're like, right, yes. Switch brain off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a huge policy here of not eating at your desk, and I'm very guilty for just kind of...
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly. It's a good policy to have. I think it's important to try and be mindful when you're eating. Your body feels more nourished, you know, when you feel full, easier if you're not just mindlessly eating, and just even taking time away from your screen and time away from
and that helps my eyesight,
the grind. Exactly.
Eyes, since I've started this, I did need glasses. Well, I didn't until like mid-20s. Then all of a sudden I started needing glasses because I was at the computer too often, and then literally in the year since I've been doing this, so I've always been at my computer, or always looking at my phone, or always looking at some sort of screen to ridiculous amount of hours a day. I've needed new prescriptions twice in the last year.
Oh my goodness.
They're just
constant strain of your eyes.
Strain of looking at screens. And it's such a simple thing, just don't look at it that often. You can change the colour of your screen to make it easier. I've had to do that. But it's something to do with being slightly short-sighted. So there's a 20-20-20 rule that my optician told me about. So every 20 minutes, you should look at something that is 20 metres away for 20 seconds. Yeah, I think I've heard of this. And it actually does, like, it's a little relaxy trick. Yeah. It's like, you start scheduling your 20-20-20 That's time. The thing, though, because I only do it when my head is starting to hurt. Yeah. So that's probably after about 4 hours. Not doing it right. I'm just doing 20-24. Yeah. Which just isn't quite right. Oh, magic. Yes. So thank you so much for coming on and answering questions. Thank you for having me. It's lovely. Is there anything that you want to add while we have this opportunity? Sure. And then I'll wrap up for the week. Great. I would just like to say, obviously, thank you very much for having me. Thank you for listening to my anecdotes and musings. And if anybody has any new and unused ladies' clothing taking up room in their wardrobe, you can put them to good use and donate them at alicas.co.uk/donate. We have a drop-off point in Edinburgh, or you can mail them to us, so that would be much appreciated. And also anybody who has any connections with fashion retailers, designers, distributors, manufacturers, anyone who has hands on clothes that you think might be a good connection for us, that might be interested in our work, then please put them in contact with us. You can find out our contact details at alicas.co.uk or reach us on social media at alicaslove. Thank you very much. Brilliant. So I'm going to still wrap my brain. I'm sure there's someone there. There's someone there. There's always someone. I'm going to be like, who? Continue racking my brain. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone for taking the time to watch or listen, whichever your method has been today. It has been fun-packed week, and we've got lots more going on next week. So I will no doubt post beforehand who is coming on next week. And have a great weekend. Thanks very much. Bye. Bye.